Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Motor Trade Radio podcast. Powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising. With Philip Nothard and Curtis Hutchinson, bringing you all the chatter that matters.
Well, Philip's actually on holiday this week, so I'm delighted to welcome back friend of the pod, David Bilsborough, owner of Cheshire Cars, the Crewe-based independent used car retailer, who's going to co-host this episode. So welcome back to the pod, David. It's been a little while. How's things with you? How's business?
Oh, good morning, Curtis, and thank you for inviting me back onto the pod. Always lovely to catch up with you. I believe Philip's sunning himself, so good for him. No, it's been very good, very positive start. As I sort of mentioned earlier, it's incredibly busy. I mean, goodness me, we're halfway through the year, so it's been very good, very successful so far.
And we've had conversations this week, and it sounds as though you are particularly busy, aren't you? There's no let up in terms of demand and you looking for stock as well. So is it looking sort of reasonably positive in the used car business at the moment?
I think so. I think judging by the start that's happened so far, I think it's positive. It's positive for us, and I think it's down to selecting what works for your business, isn't it, with the stock profile? And I think we've just hit the sweet spot with the profile of cars, vehicles we wish to target. So we just sort of managed just to keep the work, because the way that we prep them is important, obviously. Takes a lot of days preparing the car to be fully ready. And then obviously imaging it and videoing the vehicle all takes time, doesn't it? So we try and buy what we consider to be the nicest examples with the lowest mileages, and that's working for us,
Yeah, no, definitely. And over the course of this podcast, we'll be talking a lot about new EVs and used EVs, but I was just interested in your take on used EVs. Are you seeing more buyer interest in used EVs than, say, you were 12 months ago? And are you stocking more EVs as a result?
So in terms of EVs, it's been quite volatile, but I think now at the moment it's steady, it's settled. And certainly for us, we're very much targeting EVs at the moment. We think that they're good value now. We think the price has really gone to a point now where it makes perfect sense for everyone to get involved with EV. This sort of infrastructure is getting much improved. I mean, it must be about 8 years ago that I first bought a Renault Zoe with a 85 mile range. So taking back to the Tesla Y I just purchased last week with 333 miles range. So I think everything's there. It will only get better with the infrastructure. Yeah. And I think most people will charge from home, Curtis, to be fair. So providing they can provide themselves with suitable home chargers, that should make a lot of sense for people. So yes, for us, EVs definitely on the radar. And I think price parity now is, well, most EVs are running at about 45 to 55% below new list price. So it's incredible value for money, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So, I mean, clearly lots going on in the used car market at the moment, and we'll certainly be returning to some of those themes as we go through the week's big car retailing news stories. But before we look at the headlines, I've got a couple of shout outs. So we're joined in the second half of this pod by industry guru and friend of the show, Ian Goldbold, for his monthly top tip. Now, as a highly respected consultant who works across both franchised and independent sectors, he'll be discussing the importance of lead follow-up through personalised videos. And also next week, Philip will be back and we'll be catching up with CAP HBI's Jeremy Yeh, who will be taking us through July's used car trends. That could actually go live as early as Monday, so keep an eye on that on your podcast feed. Headlines this week come from Car Dealer, AM, Motor Trade News, and Motor Finance. Now, it's no surprise that the electric car grant, which we covered on last weekend's pod, continues to dominate the news agenda of both the trade press and very much a talking point across LinkedIn. So we're devoting the first half of this show to the latest developments, starting with Leapmotor, Great Wall, and MG, who are all excluded from the government's official scheme, have all announced their own customer-friendly EV grants. Alfa Romeo's launched one too. The first piece of consumer research on the electric car grant finds a cautious welcome from buyers, most of whom would have preferred a VAT cut on public charging. We've got an update from the IMDA, the Independent Motor Dealers Association. We've got their reaction to the electric car grant and their call for the government to widen the grant to cover used EV buyers. Then in the second half, we'll take a look at rising volumes of pre-registrations, which could be hinting at a return to oversupply. Motorpoint, the UK's biggest car supermarket, reports positive momentum in Q1 with retail sales and stock levels both up. And finally, have UK car buyers fallen out of love with the SUV? There's new research which suggests that may be a trend to watch. So, first headline this week comes from Car Dealer, and it's GWM and MG joined Leapmotor in offering discounts ahead of EV grants. Now, as I mentioned, we did cover the EV grant launch last week, and in a space of a couple of days after the announcement from the government, Leapmotor, who are on sale in the UK through Stellantis, was the first out of the blocks with its own Leap grant, which will see contributions of £1,500 on its small TO3 city cars and £3,750 off its larger C10 SUV models. So really taking the two bands that have been put forward by the government and turning it into their own scheme. Now, David, I've done a bit of research on this because this move actually undercuts the government and the competition, and will cut the price of the TO3 from £15,995 to £14,495, which will actually make it the cheapest new EV in the UK. I've worked out that that's about £500 less than the Dacia Spring. Now, this was followed by a similar scheme from Great Wall Motors, which has introduced its own green grant with £3,750 off Aura 03 models. And MG launched their own scheme, offering £1,500 off MG4 and MG5 EV models. While Alfa Romeo, and this is a bit of a quirky one, became the first non-Chinese brand to launch a scheme with a £1,500 discount on all junior Electrica models, along with 0% API and a free charger, with new prices starting at just under £32,500. So what do you make of this, David? Because there's some pretty fast reactions here from some OEMs, mostly the Chinese ones. What did you think when you heard this?
Well, I think personally that it's a real battlefield, isn't it? Really, when you talk about those figures, it's used car money for a new car, isn't it?
It is,
and I've got used cars more expensive than that. What one of those new prices are. So it would be very interesting if that doesn't generate some interest from the buying public. Then I'll be amazed. I think it's a smart move from them, really. I think the tech in the Chinese cars are very, very good from what I've seen and what I've been in one or two of them myself. I'm quite impressed with the actual tech. Some of the sort of finer details aren't quite up to European standard, but I'm sure that will improve as that gets developed, just like Hyundai and Kia of 25 years ago. So I think it's a bit interesting one to watch, isn't it, for sure? And maybe
Yes, and I think it's something that we'll see from certainly some of the other Chinese brands, because this is all with the September plate change very much in mind. If they can get their programs, their grants, their initiatives in place ahead of September, customers are starting to look for new cars, certainly now and into August, and those schemes will be ready for September. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And it's worth noting that across Europe, JATO Dynamics put out some data this week that although the new car market in Europe it was actually down by 4.4% in the first half of this year, combined Chinese sales almost doubled to take a 5.1% market share, and that's a new record. So that's if you put the Chinese brands together, they're outselling the likes of Ford, and they're only just behind Mercedes, with the top selling brand being BYD. So we are seeing a shift in the new cars, how new cars are being sold, and who's buying them from certainly the emergence of these new Chinese brands.
No, I think it's an interesting sector, isn't it? The new EV sector, and I think anything that can entice people into making those inquiries as to maybe going into having one could only be good, couldn't it? So I think it may well just be the spare that people need.
Yeah, definitely. So that's very much the sort of OEM reaction to the electric car grant. Motor Trade News has covered some of the consumer response, and this is based on some research carried out by Motors, and I did work with the team at Motors on the press release for this, so I had a look at the data. So it's research they did last weekend, so immediately after the electric car grant was announced. They commissioned research of 1,000 new and used car buying decision makers to find out what they thought of the grant. And the story from Motor Trade News looks at the study found that 60% of those buyers would have preferred the government to have cut the VAT rate on public electric vehicle charging from 20% to 5% to mirror the domestic charge for EVs. And within the study, it found that 38% of new car buyers said that the grant would actually make them more likely to buy an EV before the scheme ends. And the scheme is due to run until the 28-29 financial year. And elsewhere within the research, it found that 53% of current hybrid owners said the grant would actually make them consider buying an EV before the scheme ends, while 61% of current EV drivers said the scheme would make them consider buying a new EV before the scheme runs out. What did you make of this one, David?
I thought that was very interesting because it benefits not only the new car sector, but the used car sector, doesn't it? So I think if it's encouraging traffic or inquiries, shall we say, however they come, it's got to be positive, in my opinion.
Yeah, because there was some specific findings on used EVs. So despite the scheme not applying to used cars, 48% of used car buyers said the scheme would make them more likely to buy an EV. And that's really a reflection of just raising even the awareness of them for buyers who maybe hadn't considered them. When they go into a dealership, when they're searching online, maybe they'll start looking at EV options.
Certainly with the Tesla Y that we've just purchased, we've never seen a car after the Zoe. The Zoe was incredible 8 years ago. The amount of interest in the Zoe was just phenomenal at the time, but the Tesla's proven just the same. So yeah. I think there is a demand there. So retailers need to be aware of this, really.
Yeah, definitely. And heading over to AM Online, and again, this is more response on the electric car grant, and this comes from the IMDA, the Independent Motor Dealers Association, and the headline there is IMDA urges government incentive to support used EV market, and it's actually urging a £1,000 government grant incentive. And this, the IMDA, which represents retailers like yourself, David, really sort of stepping in and saying, well, okay, the grant is very much aimed at new retail buyers, but it doesn't do an awful lot to incentivize used car buyers, those used car buyers we were just talking about. So it's really urging the government to introduce a £1,000 grant to incentivize them. And one of the things it's specifically calling for is funding towards home chargers or the equivalent energy credit upon purchase of a used EV. And they're saying that this should only be available through certified independent dealers meeting quality standards or registered to a trade association. Do you think this would make a difference, David?
I thought it was a very interesting piece. I'm not surprised that the IMDA have been, working away in the background on EV. So I think anything that can be brought to the table is, especially in terms of how they've suggested it could work, is a very positive move for the sector, isn't it? So I think yes, it's a workable solution. It certainly would help people. It would give them that little bit of extra confidence to put some investment into the product. So I think, it'd be interesting to see if it gets any traction with the people that make those decisions.
Yeah, and there's a quote from Umesh Somani, the chairman of the IMDA, who says, without action, the used EV market risks being left behind, undermining the entire EV transition.
Well, yeah, I think obviously the IMDA represents independent used car dealers and businesses, workshops, etc., and body shops, etc. So it's only fit and right that they should, be in the mix when it comes to suggestions, and hopefully that suggestion will be one that will go forward and be considered.
Yeah, we'll wait to see on that. So we'll be back with the rest of the week's headlines after this.
You're listening to all the chatter that matters on Motor Trade Radio, powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising. This is your weekly one-stop shop for all the biggest car retailing headlines from across the media. Available on demand, wherever you are, on your podcast feed. Next up is car retailing industry guru Ian Goldbold, sharing his top tips on how to steer your business to success.
Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great week. I'm back with another top tip. Today, we're diving into the importance of personalised video responses and how they can significantly boost your sales conversion rates. Personalised videos have been around for a while, but its use really exploded during the COVID-19 pandemic, when face-to-face interactions were limited and dealerships had to find new ways to engage with customers remotely. Since then, many dealerships, including those I've worked with, have implemented personalised video strategies to improve engagement, increase appointments, and ultimately close more sales. In today's fast-moving automotive industry, speed and personalisation are critical. Consumers have endless choices, and if you don't act quickly, you risk losing out to your competitors. But there's a problem many dealerships face. How do you respond quickly and personally to a high volume of leads? Here's where the issue often lies. Many video suppliers aren't equipped to handle a fast-paced environment where leads are coming in constantly, and each one needs a tailored response. When you're dealing with dozens or even hundreds of inquiries every day, it's easy to fall behind. This can result in delayed responses, missed opportunities, and ultimately lower sales conversion rates. In many cases, personalised video responses can make all the difference. They allow you to engage with customers directly, show them exactly what they want, and create a more memorable experience. However, creating personalised videos for each lead can be time consuming, especially when you need to film, edit, and send each video. Dealing with the weather, finding the right lighting, and ensuring the vehicle is in the right spot only adds to the challenge. It can quickly become overwhelming, and the process is rarely efficient enough to keep up with the high volumes of leads. So, what's the solution? Well, the answer lies in streamlining the video creation process by having a system in place that allows you to quickly create and send personalised videos. You can maintain the speed and efficiency required to stay competitive. One option worth mentioning is Vehicles in Video, otherwise known as VIV. This system allows you to quickly create high quality, personalised videos without the hassle of filming from scratch each time. With VIV, each vehicle listed on your website can have its own professional walk-around video ready to send in a response to a lead. It's a great way to save time and ensure consistency across all your customer interactions. By leveraging the system, you can provide tailored video responses without sacrificing speed or quality, ultimately helping you close more deals. Additionally, platforms like this allow you to track when a consumer watches the video, offering insight to the right level of interest. This makes it easier to follow up with, nudging them towards booking a test drive or making an online reservation. To summarise today's tip, personalised videos are a powerful tool to boost your sales conversion rates. The key is to streamline the process so you can handle high volumes of leads without compromising quality of response time. With the right video system, you can create fast, tailored video responses that save time and deliver a seamless experience for every customer. Thanks for tuning in. As always, feel free to reach out via email at iangodbold@igcdigital.co.uk or connect in with me on LinkedIn, where I share more tips on marketing and operational strategy. Thanks for listening. Speak to you all again very soon.
Oh, David, that really does make a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because a lot of dealers will routinely film those 360 walkabout videos, but it's personalising them, isn't it? Afterwards, so you have an inquiry, and you can now then personalise that video for the customer who's made the inquiry.
Yeah, I think Ian makes some very, very good points. And obviously, being a company that has produced video for the last 10 or 12 years now, and seeing the benefits it can bring to a business, operational capabilities, I think I would endorse what he said wholeheartedly, really.
Because you operate your own YouTube channel, don't you?
That's right. So that's been very instrumental in the success of the business since we launched it. I think it was sort of 12, 13 years ago now. But yeah, it's been a great source of interest, and we link it to other videos as well. So I would add to what Ian's saying in a little way by saying, look, dealers should be looking at producing how-to videos, how to retain your private number plate and things like that, and how to pair a phone. I mean, we have one video on a Fiat 500 made 7 years ago. I think the views are 100,000 plus.
Wow.
It's simply a 3 or 4 minute video on how to pair your phone to a Fiat 500. And I still get phone calls to this day because I made the fatal error of saying, don't just ring me whenever you want any information. And people surprisingly ring me. So, yeah, it's a great way to interact with your customers. And it's another way people can find you and can trust you. The brand is there. You're there. Yeah. You're talking about free information. It doesn't cost them anything to actually link into it. So slightly different than what Ian's sort of suggesting, which I do agree with, by the way. We use the YouTube to be our sort of platform of holding the videos, and we direct people to that platform whenever possible, you know. So it's very, very, video is superb.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much unthinkable to not be using video in this day and age. I understand there are some out there who don't, but certainly not listeners of Motor Trade Radio for sure.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
So many thanks to Ian there for this month's top tip, and as he says, do contact him on LinkedIn. Do connect with him. He does put out a lot of interesting content, and he's very busy in the industry, so it's always interesting to see what he's up to. And before we get back to the headlines, David, I was reminded in the jingle, because we use the tagline "All the chatter that matters" on the podcast, and listeners may not know, but that actually came from you. That was a suggestion from you, which we thank you for.
Yeah. Oh no. It was one of those moments, wasn't it? One of those Hamlet moments.
Yes.
And it's still going strong for you. So I'll collect my royalties at some point, I'm sure. But
don't hold your breath.
No, I'm not. No.
Okay, back to the headlines, and starting with the second half with AM Online, and the headline there is "Rising pre-registrations hint at return to new car oversupply." So this is a report based on a recent meeting of the Vehicle Remarketing Association, which found that oversupply could begin to push the new car market back towards the kind of peaks that we saw in the mid 2010s. But I think the overriding sort of theme of this is a return to those 2.5 million sales plus would be unlikely to represent real demand, and would generally be accompanied by poor unit profitability for many dealers. And that was the view expressed at the event. And interestingly, even though he's on holiday, Philip Nothard is quoted in this story. So I can actually be Philip Nothard this week. So he said that rising pre-regs were a signal that an issue could be on the way. And he was saying, and he did actually share this on the pod when we were going through the registration figures for June, because there was a peak in the final few days of the month. So he says that after being subdued for recent years, we are seeing high levels of registration at month ends, which is always a danger. It's a sign that manufacturers are making too many cars for real world demand, and are also forcing dealers into refocusing on new volume sales after some years of concentrating on more profitable used activity. So there's some interesting dynamics happening here in the sector, isn't there, David?
I'm just listening to you there, and having read the report as well, I just wonder how much is being influenced by the transition that we are witnessing from the legacy models of diesel and petrol to electric and hybrid.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of testing going on, isn't there? Really, even though it's got to the level of being produced, manufactured, and delivered, it's still in a sort of a beta stage in some ways, isn't it? So I just wonder whether they're going to get a bit of a sort of a shock by unsold vehicles, because they're testing the market, really, aren't they?
Yeah, and there's a particularly interesting observation from Mike Allen, another friend of the pod, who is MD of Cambria Private Capital, because he's saying that the key to understanding those mid-2010 peaks was that they were not a time of high profitability for dealers.
No.
So selling a lot more new cars, but not necessarily profitably. And he says if we started to approach those numbers again, similar problems are likely. And he goes on to say that the most profitable time for dealers in recent years has been when new car supply was at its lowest. I mean, is that something that you've seen as well?
Yeah, I think all the reports, all the year-end figures being produced by most groups, they had to transition, didn't they, during the COVID years, from not delivering cars to actually being open to deliver cars remote, because COVID really, when it came, changed the whole landscape, didn't it, really? And that then transitioned into low supply. So people were having to make the most of what supply they could get, which increased profitability. And of course, the other factor was it 30% up on prices at the end of 22?
Yeah.
I think the used car mark was 30% up on prices overall. And I remember you and Philip talking about, I think it was your suggestion, the Zafira, wasn't it?
Yes.
The hashtag Zafira, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, how is that doing now, Curtis? Anyway, do you know?
Probably not so well, but
Right.
yeah, there was a period of a month or so where Zafiras were the sort of go-to used car, which
Yes.
was bizarre,
Yeah.
but it was short-lived. Because
Was it?
I think Philip was trying to encourage me to bulk buy Zafiras and just park them up in the back garden.
All right. Okay. Let's hope you didn't do that. But,
No, I
but
didn't.
anyway, no. So I think we don't want to go back to those days, at least most of all because of the profitability isn't there, is it? But there could well be a slight increase. I'm sure that will be the case as we transition to the hybrid and EVs, and that could lead to a few moments of what do I do with these cars now? I have to do something with them, remarket them, whatever. So I think, I'm sure the industry will survive it and come through. We are an industry where we have seen our fair share of turmoil, haven't we, over the years? So
Yeah, and it's an industry that is very good at
it's robust,
changing,
isn't it?
adapting. Yeah. So next headline is from Motor Trade News, and it is Motorpoint Group reports positive momentum. Now, it's only a short story in Motor Trade News, but it is interesting. And certainly on the podcast, we always keep tabs on Motorpoint because they are the biggest independent car supermarket operating in the UK. So whatever is trending at Motorpoint is of great interest to the wider industry. So the Motorpoint board reported positive momentum in retail volume sales, and this is for the first quarter of their current financial year. And they're saying that sales grew 10.6% during the quarter compared with the first quarter of the previous year. And the group also reported stock levels improving due to its data-led approach, which it felt increased vehicle buying activity alongside metal margin performance retaining strength. So some good indicators here. And following, Motorpoint did go through a tough time. They were hit by falling residual values and the implications of buying high and being forced to sell at reduced rates. But I think the key to this story is their new approach to sourcing stock and possibly being a bit more scientific about it.
Yeah, I would agree, Curtis. I mean, 18 months ago, it didn't look too rosy, did it, for the group? But they've enacted a policy now and a policy change maybe, and embraced new technologies, which has resulted in where they are today, which is a really good result. As you say, they are the largest operator in car supermarkets. And so it seems the good times are slowly coming back. So let's hope that continues for them.
Yeah, and the story goes on to say that the board is confident that the group will achieve its expectations for the full year. The final story this week, David, is it's a bit of an interesting one. This, and I'll be interested to hear your views on it. It's from Motor Finance Online, and it's UK motorists call for SUV regulations amid safety concerns. So this is based on some research that was carried out by Startline Used Car Tracker. And the research indicated that more than 1/3 of UK drivers think the number of SUVs on the road is excessive. And this particular report reveals that 35% of respondents call for new rules to ensure safer SUV designs, while 18% believe the automotive sector should prioritise promoting alternatives to SUVs. So it's a minority, but it's a sizable minority. And it is a bit surprising given the context of SUVs being such huge sellers. So what did you make of this one?
I thought it was rather a sort of a strange one, really. To put it openly, I thought it was. I mean, for a start, all vehicles have to be type approved, don't they?
Yeah.
So every vehicle will be type approved. I believe it's a very rigorous test on the vehicles, and in fact, I think they do destroy some vehicles, don't they, in the process of testing them for safety.
Yes.
So maybe the report is aiming at sort of pedestrian safety. I don't know if the vehicle hits somebody as opposed to the occupants inside it. I don't think it's going to affect the demand for the SUV, is it? It's never. I mean, look at Range Rover Evokes and E-Pace and those vehicles. I mean, they're very much in demand, and we're certainly not finding anyone resistant to buying an SUV. It gives that flexibility, doesn't it? And that's what people want. And I think that will continue to be. There may be a drop or a change away because obviously 30 years ago it was the estate car, wasn't it?
Yes.
It's the shooting brake.
Shooting brake.
Those of us old enough to remember that. So I think it's probably not going to affect the market too much, if anything, really.
And it is such a broad sector, isn't it? Because it really covers those compact crossovers through to some of the big 4x4s, and incredibly popular sector. And I know when we talk to CAP HPI every month, they say that I think the biggest data selection they've got is now from used SUVs, because that is what buyers are focusing in on. It's a huge part of the market.
It is, and of course, with anything that's luxury, the upper and middle to upper sector, the specification of that vehicle is absolutely paramount, isn't it, to its successful retail sale in a number of days. So the ones with the panoramic sunroofs and the larger wheels and the black detailing on the exterior. Probably giving away too many secrets here, but nevertheless. So those vehicles I don't see dropping in sales and desirability. I think the desirability will remain for the foreseeable future.
Yes, most definitely. And there's a quote from Paul Burgess, CEO of Startline, within the story, who says SUVs have become the usual choice for most drivers in the UK, who tend to like the high seating position and adaptability for family life. However, our research shows there is a significant minority of people who are concerned about the increased safety risks that they bring, especially when it comes to pedestrian surviving impact. So really sort of focusing on that safety element. Well, David, that's all the headlines this week. So we've covered a lot of ground because the first half was very much around the feedback to the electric car grant, which I'm sure we'll be revisiting next week because there'll be further updates, but also some good insights into used vehicle trends, especially around used EVs. The latest news from Motorpoint on used car trends, what they're seeing in the market. So I hope you've enjoyed your spot as co-host once again. It's great to have you back on the show because it has been a little while.
Well, no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just hope the listeners will say the same. I don't want the viewings to tank after Philip's gone away because I won't be coming back again, obviously. But no, I'm sure people will find what we've discussed, and it was very capably hosted by your good self. So it made my job very, very easy. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, David. And as I say, many thanks for coming back on the pod. That's all for now. So many thanks for joining us on the Motor Trade Radio podcast. Philip and I are back early next week for our monthly catch-up with CAP HPI's Jeremy Yeh, and he'll be taking us through July's used car trends. So do keep an eye on your podcast feed for that. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Thank you for listening to the Motor Trade Radio podcast, powered by Motors, the driving force behind multi-site advertising. We'll be sharing all the URLs from this week's headlines on Monday morning. To make sure you receive them, just subscribe to the free newsletter on our LinkedIn page. Just search Motor Trade Radio Podcast.